Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Shay Hardy, and I am the Managing Director of Empower Amsterdam and Empowerment.work. Tonight, we're having a special live talk about adapting your business. And the theme for this month for Empower Amsterdam is adjusting to the new norm. And we feel that if you have a business or you've been in a business, that you've probably had to adjust to the changes with the pandemic and, political things that are going on in the world. So we thought it would be great to gather some other business owners who have gone through this to share what they've gone through and to share their stories with us. I'd like to invite them into the room now. I'd also like to thank Constantina for being our producer tonight and our tech support. Thank you so much, Constantina. Hello, ladies. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really passionate about this topic because I do have my own business and I have had to make adjustments in my business many different times for many different reasons. And the pandemic was just such a big reason for making this change. But I'd love for you to introduce yourselves to anyone who's watching and let us know a little bit about you, where you're from, and the business that you run. The business that you run now, not the one that you had to adapt or adjust to if you had to change anything. How about we start with Priti?
Hi everyone, thank you Shia for having me for this chat. My name is Preeti and I am from India. I moved to the Netherlands in 2019. I run my own Instagram creative studio in Amsterdam, which means that I work with entrepreneurs to help them amplify their businesses and their personal brands online on Instagram. Prior to this, I have worked in the tech space as a content marketer for many years, where I've helped companies do better on social media. And it was only this year that I pivoted my services, and today I run my own Instagram strategy business.
That's great. And Joanna, how about you?
Thank you for the invitation. I'm Joanna, I'm from Peru, and right now I help business owners translating their why into relatable pictures that they can use in their social media. I used to be, I am still a wedding photographer, and what I adapt the most during these times is trying to reach a different audience. So I had to adjust my content and adjust the strategy that I had to do for having a broader audience and help business owners too during these times.
Oh, nice. And Sara.
Hi, I'm Sara Budhwani, and yes, thanks so much for having me on this talk. I'm Canadian. I moved here to Amsterdam last year, so it's been pretty much a year and a half since I've been here. And I originally came here for a job, but now I have my own business and I am a freelancer. I'm basically a creative professional and a strategist working in marketing and advertising and digital. And yeah, I'm excited to tell more about my story.
Thank you so much. I think one of the things that any entrepreneur or any small business owner, they know, but it's not until they actually go through it. They know that they're going to have to go through some changes and life is changed. But when you go through it, when the moment happens, how do you know that it's time to make a change, to make a shift in your business? Like, what was the catalyst that was like, all right, I have to do something different now? Maybe let's start with Joanna this time.
For me, I have been for so many changes, and the first big one was not actually moving to the Netherlands, not being during the pandemic, was changing career from being an economist to being an entrepreneur. So there are moments that you feel that you need to change, that you need to do an adjustment. In the case of going from one country to the other was how I deal with losing my audience. So I had to do some changes in the core of the business, because it is something that scares a lot, because you have an audience, you have followers, you have established business, and then going back to zero because you are new in a new town, you are new in a business, even though you have 10 years of experience, you are the new. So yes, it is hard. And I guess the hardest part is realizing that there is a fear of losing, but at the same time, losing that fear and doing it even despite everything, it's what makes you go ahead, reach more people, start networking, start reaching other business, or changing the career changing the audience in the time that are now.
That's a good one. It's your audience changes. That's a good reason to to adapt
really
your
good
career.
Yes.
Yeah. What a
Yeah, I would like to add to this discussion. I think for me, pivoting and making these decisions that okay, something has to change in my career was always is always there at the back of the mind, even when I was working full time, because I always look out for opportunities, better opportunities in future outside my job, and always in the lookout of is there something better for me. So I have always kind of been that open-minded person, even when I was working full-time for companies, and I was freelancing. So I like how you brought this up, because not because we are in the pandemic right now, but life gives us so many occasions where you have to be ready to take that jump, irrespective of whether a pandemic has hit you, or whether you've become a mother, or whether you've moved to a new city because of your partner. You have, as women especially, you have to constantly adapt to changing circumstances, and it is more than it's so much more common for women trained that way from a very very young age. So for me, pivoting has always been the easiest of jobs, because I have done it in some ways. But when I moved to the Netherlands, I had to say goodbye to my 8 years worth of network, which I had to say goodbye to. And that was my biggest loss for that matter, because I had made connections in around Asia. But when you move to Asia, to Europe, you are basically starting from scratch. People say that it's amazing when you move countries, you are getting, you are, going to be working for a bigger country or a bigger continent, whatever that is. But it's not easy, to lose your connections and to start all over from a new market. So for me, it was that fear: will I make friends, will I make new connections, will my new network will be as good as, especially as an expat, you have so much, you step into a new space, into so much of self-doubt, cultural barriers. So these are some of the things that were my biggest fear. But Netherlands has been a lovely place. I've met so many people. The fact that it's such cosmopolitan, and today, see, we are four of us from four different corners of the world, and that is exactly the kind of experience I got. And I feel like I have made a switch in the right time, in the right place. So whoever is watching, I think you guys are blessed that you were in Netherlands, because this is where exciting things are happening for a lot of us.
Yeah. I could also jump in here and say, when it comes to change, there really is no right time. I've been thinking of going freelance, and like Preeti was saying, like it's something that's always on your mind. Even if you're not consciously actively thinking about it, it's something that's still in the back of your head that's always like, I wonder what would happen if I did that. And the more they stick in your head, and the more they're kind of like knocking, being like, hey, listen to me. Those are the ones that you need to pay attention to. So for example, for me, when I went freelance, I've always wanted to go freelance. It's always seemed such like oh wow, freelancers, they have the life, but it was always like, yeah, I'll do that eventually when I'm ready.
Yes.
The truth is, you're never gonna be ready. So you really
Yeah.
just gotta make the change when you really feel that you're in the right position to make a big change.
That is good. That's smart. In knowing you're in the right position. I know that I've had to change my career so many times, from being an employee, then being a contractor, then being an entrepreneur, then a social enterprise. I mean, it just keeps going. But I think the one catalyst, something that Preti said really struck me, is that once you're starting your own business, you always have to be alert of what's going on around you. What opportunity is there? What changes are going on? What trends are going on? It is your job as an entrepreneur to be alert of what's changing and being able to respond to it. I think what sometimes happens is that a lot of people are alert and paying attention, but they don't jump right at it. Where were there, or something holds them back? When you had to make changes for your businesses, do you remember anything that held you back, that made you hesitate? Something, it could be a fear, it could be a challenge. Sarah, what anything that kind of made you say, wait a second, I'm not ready yet, or let me take a moment?
Yeah, there are many. Yeah, fear is great, right? It just comes and it's like, here are a bunch of doubts, and you're like, what? So yeah, it kind of similar to Preeti. When I came here, I lost my network as well. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go freelance, but wait a minute, how many people do I actually really know here? And then I'm like, oh no, and then it's like a bunch of doubts come, right? So yeah, definitely. Overcoming that though is really about confidence as well. It's, I had to regain my confidence. My confidence was lost. And what I did was I actually talked to a lot of other freelancers that were similar in my niche and that were currently in Amsterdam, whether expat or local, just doing more research as to like who else is out there and what is their experience like and what is the kind of work that they're working on, and basically, yeah, just doing my research. And that really made me realize where I fit and how to position myself and what I could provide, opposed to just being like a general up in the air kind of idea. So getting really specific and getting really more structured into, okay, actually putting things on paper really helped me overcome those fears and really stay clear in my path that I needed to stay on.
Ooh, putting things down on paper. That's a good one. And I like that tip about talking to people in your field. I think some people are sometimes afraid to talk to other people that might be on the same level. Maybe they think it's competition. Maybe they think, that's not allowed. But I find that a lot of other entrepreneurs are quite open in telling you like, hey, I went through this, maybe you can avoid the same mistake I made.
Exactly. It was a vital step for me. So I would highly recommend always talking to others in your network.
Yeah. That's a good tip.
What about you?
It's not as easy what you did. I think I have had similar challenges. But continuing from where I was talking about lack of network, this is a very big problem for a lot of people who are new, starting all over again. But when you build that network of people, you have people in your community who are freelancers, whether local or expat, they know you. It just builds that confidence because you know people who are also struggling, who are also where you are at, or maybe you know people who have had success, who are just a few steps ahead of you. So you're like, okay, someone has seen some progress, so it's not that bad at all. And I feel a lot of people do not open up as much. They're not open to talking to people, connecting to people, and saying, "Hello, can we chat? I am a newbie, or I've started my new business." I think people are always starting from a place where I don't know anyone and I shouldn't be even talking to anyone. So I was also having that confidence issue, exactly like her, that no one knows me. How do I even get started? So what I started off is I put my personal brand in place. And when I say personal brand, I was always active on LinkedIn, but I started getting more intentional, like I really started getting more intentional and actively participating in what my peers or my ideal clients are saying, being present, being a part of those conversations, attending events, meetups, you know, pushing myself to make friends. It's not easy, especially if you are an expat, but that is something that I had to really build that confidence and come out of my comfort zone. And when that happened, I met so many people who were just like me, and they were like, oh my god, Preeti, I feel you, I have been there. And I think this year I have just done that, overcome my lack of confidence, met people, and then met people like you all, and then I'm like, okay, it's not as bad. So that is something that really helped me, honestly, more than anything else, because I know my credibility, I know that I'm good, but I need to be more confident and have that kind of visibility online.
Yeah.
And I relate so much with that because when everything started to go down, at least for me, during the pandemic, I mean, the first thing that I went back, it was networking. And it is not reaching audience, clients, or anything. It's reaching people, making friends, and start to, because from the audience or from the friends, you will find your clients. People that are relate to you, that are similar to you, will become your clients finally, or they will know someone. At least in the wedding industry, everything is about connections, about networking. I guess the best thing that happened to me during the pause was that it gave me time for reaching more people and get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to acknowledge Stefania, who is joined us and has shared a comment. I don't know if Constantina can share it in the group. Yeah, thanks. In my opinion, sharing their own experience as well as asking a question requires a lot of confidence. I agree. I think it is a really brave move, and you have to come out of your comfort zone and be a little bit uncomfortable and talk to
Yeah.
people and share what you're doing. So all of you have had some changes because of the pandemic or during the pandemic. It may not be because of it. And you're helping your clients as well due to the changes in the world, or yeah, the changes in the world. But Joanna, you said that you were helping. Can you tell us again how you're helping your clients?
Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, for me was three places that I have to reach. First is to my audience, my long-time audience, and they were as well as me scared. So first is my clients, and I gave them things, but the audience, business owners mostly, they wanted help. So I am an economist in my previous years. So what I had is a group for helping them. The first stage was helping them. What they can do during the first days to adapt their business, to try to reach the clients, like keep posting, keep doing your work, keep showing up, because people is there, but only you need to show up. People were scared to go into doing lives or doing social media because it is hard, because it affects you. But
Yeah.
you also have to be aware that you have to keep doing your job and keep being for them, for the audience that is following you. So that for me was that first step. Then that initial help went into doing consultancy for some of the business. So that is why everything pivots into something that I was not thinking about in the beginning, but it was helpful for them. So yeah, it was a big change, but it's something that I saw that it was needed in that moment.
So what I hear is that you used a skill that you had previously, like from a different life before your wedding, before being a wedding photographer, and now you've used it. You brought it back again to help people who are in their business and trying to figure out how to manage that. So I was wondering, my original question was going to be, what did you have to bring in, or what new skill did you have to use in the adapting? And you answered that perfectly. I got it. Previous skill was being an economist, and helping your clients figure out how to navigate what's going on here. I think that's great. Maybe Sara, do you have did you have to learn a new skill, or did you have an old skill that you had to use to adapt?
Yeah, so for me, traditionally, I've always worked as an art director in agencies, and now I consider myself more than an art director. And when I went freelance, I didn't want to go as a freelance art director. I wanted to provide what I thought I was and what I thought I could provide. So I had all these skills that I had gained over the years, but what I did when I transitioned was I really honed in on the ones that I wanted to focus on. So I kind of got rid of so I presented myself with, a list of skills, but I prioritized the ones that I wanted to focus on and the ones I wanted to get more experience in and work towards. So these skills were already there, but I guess what I've done is I've really brought them to the surface, and I've really highlighted them so that I could really focus on them and also just be clear as to what I can provide and what I can do.
Oh, nice. That is wonderful. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with what Sara, and I feel that so much like she's like talking my mind. But I have had a very similar experience. Like, I was more of a generic marketer, right? I was an end-to-end marketer for years, because that's what you do when you're in corporate. You end up doing so many things, right? But when you're freelance, you need to kind of focus on what is that one thing, which is why your clients are going to hire you, because you're competing against so many people, especially in Amsterdam, right? So I had to think like an entrepreneur. I could no longer act like a freelancer that, okay, I'm going to sign me up for any job and I'm going to do it. I needed to think like a business, that this is who I am, this is the exact problem that I solve, these are the kind of clients I work with, so that my service acts like an offer. If someone walks into my shop, they exactly know what they get. So I had to create an offer, and that was based out of a lot of experiments that I did over the early months of the pandemic, because I was reaching out, I was doing a lot of market research. Accidentally got a client who wanted some kind of help on her Instagram, and then she was like, "You're really good. You're really good. I want my friends to know about you." And then she referred me, and then I understood that, okay, there is this growing segment, and there are entrepreneurs who need a coach and a social media manager both, because they are all busy CEOs and entrepreneurs, very busy mothers, too busy to handle social media on their own. And then I kind of did that market research, and I understood, okay, this is my ideal audience, and this is what I'm going to give them. So I think that switch was very, very essential. So I had to niche down and narrow down my services, which is scary, because then you're like, oh my God, so that means if I just work with entrepreneurs, does that mean that I'm no longer going to work with tech companies anymore? So that was a struggle that I'm still struggling with, but I'm glad that today I exactly know what I do, and people refer me because they know that I am a niche marketer. So that is something that has worked well for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's finding your niche, and then there's actually working in your niche.
Yeah.
And they're kind of two different things, because you could also find that when you're working in your niche, that your niche is also kind of changing and adapting. So it's find it, be confident in it, so that other people can hire you for it.
Yeah.
But don't think it's always set in stone, because it's
of
not.
course. It's scary, but to niche down is very, very scary, because you feel like you're losing money. But yeah,
but it shouldn't be restricting in any way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that having to adapt has improved your business in any way?
Yeah, I would say for sure. because these new skills that now I'm really focusing on and prioritizing, I'm excelling, and now that's something that I can really sell to clients, and now that it's allowed me to focus. So now my future is a little bit more clear as well as to how I see myself growing as a freelancer. So I think it's also good just for your future, for your goals.
What about you guys, Joanna, Rita, Pretty?
I'm kind of thinking about this because for me, actually, it is making things a little more complicated, because I realize that I like a lot of different topics, and it came like really hard, like the last 2 weeks, because I want to share about wedding photography, but if I share social media for business owners and I show this to other clients, it's too many things. So what you say, Sara and Pri, is like niche down. For me, became harder right now. So what I am trying to do is divide the social medias that I have between the audiences that I am trying to keep. But that is an important part that I still need to work on. So yes.
Always an ongoing process.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I have to be honest. Obviously, I was getting paid a lot more before COVID happened. I had regular income. I was working with really good companies, but unfortunately, a lot of marketing budgets have come down. People are not hiring as much. But I think this is good for me because due to adapting my business this way, it has done a lot of shift to my mindset, which that would have never happened. And I would have, like Sara said, we would have never been ready unless COVID happened to us, And I've been able to take these big decisions and wear like big shoes just because I was thrown into a situation like this. And I'm glad it happened and is happening early on in my career, because I don't know what I would have done in future. So this year essentially is a year of experimenting. And even if I fail, the entire world failed. Okay, so everyone is failing, everyone's struggling. I do not have to justify someone that what went wrong with my business in 2020, because obviously we are in a pandemic. So I have used this time to essentially upscale. I have hired, I have outsourced, so I've done a lot of new things for the first time, which is making me ready for 2021. And I think this is good for my business. But in revenue wise, of course, I have niched down. So my clients are getting to know me. I'm slowly, people are talking about me in the market about my new service. But I think this is all good. But money wise, it's still slow, but hopefully things are gonna change. That's been my experience. Yeah.
It's always new like that. When you're doing something new, you're waiting for it to work out faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also a good point that you're saying that like a lot of this people are in the same boat. It's
Yeah.
you often see people's successes, like I see people creating agencies or getting new jobs or building brands in the middle of the pandemic, and it's just like, wow, you've been busy. It looks like you're successful, and it's hard to because you're surrounded by other people doing stuff, but also remember that they're not showing you their journey and how hard it was for them to get there. And that's always something to keep in mind, is that everyone's journey right now is pretty tough and everyone is going through a lot of changes. And so don't ever feel like you're alone and that like this is just something you have to deal with. Like, no, like if the more you reach out to people, the more you're really going to see that everyone is going through some sort of big knuffle.
That's true.
And revenue and money is definitely not a metric to measure your success in 2020, especially because it means nothing, honestly.
That is so. It's such a good. I'm going to come back to that, but first, Stefania asked a question in the comments. Let's see if Constantina can bring it into the room. Let's see. So she says, how many colleagues from your same niche do you know and keep contact with?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Yes. So I have, like, locally, I know almost all the top freelancers who are doing exactly the same thing. And when I say top freelancers, means they are experienced. So I in fact hired someone I know as a coach who kind of helped me through navigating through that process, in terms of setting up my business, talking to clients, and all of that. But I would say I have like a set of 5 to 6 people around Europe that I could reach out to, and I could get on a call with them and be like, hey, can you tell me? So these are marketers. So I'm a marketer at the end of the day. And by colleagues, you obviously mean people who are running similar businesses, who are as old as I am, because I don't want to compare myself with a very, very senior person or a very junior.
Right.
So pick your colleagues well. Make sure that you're comparing yourself with realistically with other businesses. But about 6 to 7, yeah.
Yeah, for
Anyone
me,
else?
I have 3 different networking groups, but they are different. I cannot say that it's exactly my niche, but yeah, I have a group that I network of photographers here in the Netherlands, and a group that I really, really love. That it is not my niche, but it is an amazing one. We are 7 women, different countries, different expertise, different areas, supporting each other. Because that I guess having someone that is not from your business can understand the perspective of the client. So that is something that I really appreciate. I have found this group, and really thankful during this time too.
Oh, that's good. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, for me, I mean, colleagues is such a weird word. It's like I work alone, so I don't really have any colleagues. So to be honest, my niche is very specific. I don't really know a lot of people that are in the exact same niche as what I'm offering. As I mentioned before, I did a lot of research and I started networking and talking to a lot of people who are in similar boats and similar niches. And some of them I do stay in contact with. And, you know, when a project comes up, we've been able to talk about it, you know, about potentially working together and whatnot. So definitely still in contact with those people. But yeah, to be honest, it's kind of hard for me specifically to find colleagues in the exact same niche as me. So whenever I find them, I'm like, hey, we're in the same niche. You know, automatically start this kind of bond.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we do the same thing. So, and I always try to connect with those people, of course. But yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my questions is,
I have in fact been given business by my colleagues, like peers, because that also helps. If you are in good terms with people who do the same thing, sometimes you get referrals as well. So you need to be a good friend and do the same for others as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think my last question, I wanted anyone who's watching us live or on the replay, please feel free to put your questions in the comments, and whether we get to them live or we get to them in the replay, we will respond to your questions. Just let us know what you want to know. One of the last questions I want to ask is resources. You guys already talked about, well, Joanna already talked about having the people, well, all of you have talked about having the people that you could turn to, and Joanna said she had a community that she can turn to. But are there any other things that anyone who's like, hey, I'm stuck, I need to do something, where do I turn to? Is there anything that you used or that you've heard of that you think other people might get a benefit from?
Yeah, for myself, I mean, my main resources were definitely Facebook. Facebook has a lot of groups on it, so that being said, I always would recommend to start on Facebook and search and see if there's a group that is similar to what you're looking for. Chances are there is. If not, maybe opportunity to make one. Also, yeah, LinkedIn, definitely, tapping into your network, asking people to share links, maybe if you have a website or resume or whatever. LinkedIn is a great resource. And I also find that posting on LinkedIn is great as well, because it just, you pop up on people's feeds and people just remember you, or else, they're not going to remember you. And then also by talking to other people, I was introduced to other resources. So for example, I was networking, I met a girl, and she told me about a Slack channel that was strictly just for ladies who strategize. So I joined that, and that has been such an amazing network of women, and so many great things have come from that. So, and then there's other examples of that. So I would actually recommend to again, just talk to other people and see what other resources they're using, because that will be your greatest resource, essentially.
Yeah, great tips. I think I have a very similar answer. Facebook groups, LinkedIn, wherever you are, whatever community, whether online or offline, be very, very intentional about it. And don't shy away from being intentional. I mean, we have only 24 hours of time. You can't devote all your time talking to people. But knowing exactly, okay, you want to meet exactly these kind of people because you want to do business with these kind of, or if you are in the pharma industry, or if you want to particularly in the creative industry. So identifying where your ideal clients are at, and kind of practically thinking about it, looking for groups. I have got clients from groups, because even there is another end where businesses are actively looking to hire, and they're also struggling to meet you. So you need to meet them where they are at, and also cleaning up your entire LinkedIn, looking like you are really here for a reason, and don't do a bad job in refining your LinkedIn profile, because that often is your first impression, right? Whether someone responds to your LinkedIn message or not. And I have been like very hyperactive with networking. I send voice notes on LinkedIn message because I want that person to quickly take notice of me. So do everything possible, and yeah, give your best shot. That's what my advice is.
For me, it's kind of the same. Groups are the best tool for finding people, for reaching, for doing networking. And I want to share something here. The first client that it was not a wedding related, it was because I posted on a group about finding a spicy pepper here in the Netherlands. And for me, putting my profile picture as a photographer with a camera in hand,
Yeah.
camera in hand, it was enough for her to look at us and say like, hey, I need pictures. I'll check your profile. And I didn't talk anything about photography. I talk about spicy pepper. So be you, connect with people and look activities that are you related, because people is looking for people, connect with people more now that we are all at home. We want to connect, even if it's an online meeting or talking or watching a movie online. But that is really important, because your clients are similar to you, are really attracted to you as a person. So for me, it's reaching out and be active and constantly connecting with others.
And to add on that, because that's such a great story, you should really wear your brand too. If you're obviously a photographer, just so by putting in your profile picture, by putting it on your profile, like this is your brand, this is what you do, people automatically get that impression as soon as they see your profile. It takes seconds for them to understand what it is you do and what's your style of photography. So obviously there's things that you can do much easier than others in regards to showcasing your work and stuff like that. But as much as you can to really wear your brand, and by wear it, I mean like own it, put it everywhere you can without being obviously too crazy about it. That will do wonders for you. Yeah. So that's a great story.
So I want to give you guys a chance to tell people again what you do and where they can find you. We could put the links later on in the comments. I think they're already there. They might already be there, but just give everyone your last word. What do you want to share? And I'll start with Joanna this time.
Well, I am a wedding photographer working now with small business owners and making them easier to have pictures that they can actually sell and share that they own. And you can reach me on every social media with my name.
That makes it so much easier.
Hi guys, my name is Preeti. I'm an Instagram strategist for businesses and entrepreneurs. You can look me up on Instagram at yours socially with a single S, and we're all in this together. And I hope 2021 is going to be the best year professionally for all of you all watching this.
Cool. And I'm Sara from Canada, currently a creative strategist and creator, freelancing. And I guess my advice is really to don't let other people close doors for you, and don't let people, try to control how to run your business and how to live your career. Just really try to stick with your gut, and if you really stick with your gut, that's when it's really going to work out. And that's exactly what I did. I did something so scary. I've never been so scared in my life, but I did it. I went for it, and it's been the most liberating experience I could ever imagine. So always just go with your gut.
I love that.
You can find me, my name, I have my website, budhwani.com. But you can find me, just with my name on Instagram, LinkedIn, all of the places.
Very good. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us tonight and sharing your stories and sharing your advice and your wisdom and everything that you've learned in between. And I want to invite anyone who wants to reach out to these guys for more information. Just let us know. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Thank you so much, Shia, for organizing this. And I'm going to connect with everyone individually. Thank you so much. It was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for making this happen.